The still night in Tallaght, South County, Dublin, there was a sense of peace, one that comes from living in a close-knit community, but it was shattered by blood-curdling screams coming from a home on the Rossfield estate. The night was still in Tallaght, South County, Dublin, and it was filled with a sense of peace that comes from living in a close-knit community, but it was shattered by a blood-curdling scream coming from a home on the Rossfield estate. A 14-year-old had jumped out of one of the windows and ran to call for help. Something unimaginable was happening within the walls of their home. Something brutal had invaded the Cawley household, transforming their sanctuary into a scene of horror. What could have driven someone to tear apart an innocent family? And how could such an atrocity occur in the dead of night behind closed doors? This is the story of Ireland's most twisted family massacre. It was a typical evening in Tallaght, South County, Dublin, a community where neighbors knew each other by name, and the sounds of the night were very familiar and comforting. The hum of cars passing by, the soft murmur of late-night conversations, and the occasional laugh echoing down the street were all a part of the tapestry that made up this close-knit neighborhood. But on the night of September 4th, 2022, the usual serenity was shattered by something far more sinister. Piercing screams tore through the quiet, sending chills down the spines of anyone who heard them. Lisa Cash was an 18-year-old girl with a heart of gold and a future brimming with promise. Having recently completed her leaving certificate exams, a significant milestone in Irish education, she was standing on the cusp of adulthood. Friends described her as mature beyond her years, always willing to lend a helping hand or a sympathetic ear. But perhaps her most cherished role was that of a big sister to her younger siblings. 8-year-old twins Christy and Chelsea Cawley were the embodiment of youthful energy. Their laughter was infectious, their energy boundless, and just a few months prior they had celebrated their first Holy Communion, a joyous occasion that had filled their home with pride and happiness. Christy, the quieter of the two, had a thoughtful demeanor, often observing the world with wide-eyed wonder. Chelsea, ever the adventurer, loved exploring and wasn't afraid to get her hands dirty. Together they balanced each other perfectly, their twin bond evident to all who knew them. The Cawley household was one filled with love. Lisa often took on a maternal role, ensuring her younger siblings were cared for while their mother worked to provide for the family. They lived modestly but happily, their home a sanctuary of warmth and security. Neighbors would often see the siblings playing in the yard or walking to the local shops together, a tight-knit trio that was inseparable. September 3rd, 2022 began without any hint of the tragedy to come. The sun rose over Tallaght, crossing a warm glow on the streets as residents went about their usual routines. For the Cawley family, it was a Saturday like any other. The twins might have been watching cartoons or playing games, while Lisa perhaps pondered her next steps after finishing school. The ordinary nature of the day made what was to come all the more shocking. As night fell, the family settled into their usual evening activities. The twins got ready for bed, maybe after a bedtime story from Lisa or their mother. The comfort of their home enveloped them in a place where they were supposed to be safest. But lurking in the shadows was a storm that would soon unleash unimaginable devastation. At approximately 12:30 a.m. on Sunday, September 4th, the tranquility of the night was violently disrupted. The Gardaí, Ireland's National Police Service, received a distress call that became one of the most harrowing cases in their history. Reports of a violent disturbance at the Cawley residence prompted an immediate response. When officers arrived at the scene, they were confronted with chaos and brutality beyond comprehension. The incident was later described as violent, challenging, and traumatic. Inside the home, 24-year-old Andy Cash, the brother of the siblings to the family, had launched a brutal attack armed with a large bladed object. The reasons behind his actions remained unclear, but the devastation he wrought was unmistakable. Lisa, true to her protective nature, fought desperately to shield Christy and Chelsea from harm. Her courage in the face of such terror was nothing short of heroic. Despite her efforts, the attacker was relentless. The twins were subjected to unimaginable violence, and reports later revealed that they had been thrown from an upstairs window during the assault. The 14-year-old brother, whose name has been withheld for privacy, managed to escape the horrifying scene. Bleeding and in shock, he leapt from a window and sprinted to nearby houses, frantically seeking help. His actions were pivotal, alerting neighbors and authorities to the tragedy unfolding within the walls of his home. As news of the incident spread, disbelief and sorrow gripped the community. The Cawley family was well known and well loved in Tallaght, so much so that such a shocking act could occur in their neighborhood was beyond anyone's imagination. People gathered in the streets, their faces etched with grief and confusion. How could this have happened? Why did it happen? The questions swirled, but answers were scarce. The police secured the scene, and emergency medical personnel worked tirelessly, But tragically, Lisa, Christy, and Chelsea were pronounced dead after being transported to Children's Health Ireland at Crumlin. The weight of the loss was immeasurable. All three victims had suffered catastrophic injuries, having been stabbed multiple times, the detective said. A post-mortem revealed 71 slash and stab injuries to Lisa's face, neck, chest, and limbs. There were also signs that she had tried to defend herself from the attack. Christy suffered 107 sharp force injuries while his sister Chelsea was stabbed and slashed 65 times. Before committing the murders, Andy Cash was noted to have behaved inappropriately at a family gathering. Reports indicate that during this event, he made relatives uncomfortable with some of the things he was saying. From there, Cash took a taxi to Rossfield Avenue and went inside the family home while the taxi driver waited. His actions included throwing a television from a top floor and dangling a child from a window, which indicated erratic and potentially dangerous behavior. Yeah, no kidding. Andy Cash was arrested at the scene without incident. The following day, he was formally charged with the murders of Lisa, Christy, and Chelsea Cawley. He received 3 terms of life imprisonment, the mandatory sentence. As he was brought to the court, the community grappled with a mix of emotions of rage, sorrow, and an overwhelming sense of injustice. The days that followed were marked by an outpouring of support for the surviving family members. Vigils where hundreds gathered to light candles, lay flowers, and share memories of the siblings whose lives were so tragically cut short. The local schools attended by the children opened their doors to provide counseling and support for students and staff alike. Social media was flooded with tributes, not just from those who knew the family, but from people across Ireland and beyond. The story touched the hearts of many, serving as a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the importance of community solidarity in the face of tragedy. The impact of the murders extended far beyond Tallaght. National news outlets covered the story extensively, and government officials expressed their condolences. The Minister of Justice issued a statement condemning the violence and offering support to the affected families and community. Questions were raised about how such a tragedy could have been prevented. Discussions about mental health resources, domestic violence awareness, and community policing emerged, highlighting the need for systemic changes to protect vulnerable individuals and families. Amidst the grief, it was essential to remember who Lisa, Christy, and Chelsea were, not just as victims, but as individuals who brought light and joy to those around them. Lisa Cash was on the brink of adulthood, with aspirations and dreams that she was ready to pursue. Perhaps she planned to attend university, start a career, or travel the world. Christy and Chelsea Cawley, the vibrant twins with an unbreakable bond, had their whole lives ahead of them. They were at an age where every day was an adventure. Every experience was a building block for the people they would become. Their loss was not just the loss of 2 children, but the loss of the future contributions they would have made to the world. The 14-year-old brother's escape and quick actions were nothing short of heroic. Despite the unimaginable terror he faced, he found the courage to seek help, potentially preventing further tragedy. As the legal proceedings against Andy Cash commenced, community looked to the justice system for answers and accountability. The court hearings were closely followed by media outlets and the public alike. While no verdict or sentence could undo the tragedy, there was a collective hope that justice would provide some measure of closure for the grieving family. In the wake of the tragedy, efforts were made to support not only the family, but also the first responders and community members affected by the incident. Counseling services were made available and community meetings were held to address concerns and provide a space for people to express their feelings. The memory of Lisa, Christy, and Chelsea became a catalyst for positive change within the community. Scholarships were established in their names, aimed at supporting other people in pursuing their dreams. The tragedy that befell the Cawley family is a stark reminder of the unpredictable nature of life and the profound impact that one's individual actions can have on countless others. It raises important questions about societal responsibilities, mental health awarenesses, and the measures needed to prevent such incidents in the future. And as we reflect on the lives of Christy and Chelsea, we are reminded of the importance of cherishing our loved ones, the time we have with them. Their story, while heartbreaking, serves as a testament to the strength of family bonds and the power of community. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.